Of all the AI chatbots out there, Claude by Anthropic is definitely one of the top ones. Today, we're going to go over everything you need to know about it, including how to prompt engineer it correctly to get the best results, overall, get you more comfortable with the user interface, and most importantly, tell you what makes this different from other AI chatbots. Sometimes, for some people, it just comes down to personal preference, whether they choose ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude, or sometimes, depending on the use case, you need to have this for a specific purpose. So we'll go over that. And I mean, just jumping right into it, this is Claude. It says, hey there, I'm Claude. I'm your AI assistant for brainstorming, creating, and learning together. Here's a few things you should know about me. Curious? Just ask. Chat with me about anything from simple asks to complex ideas. I'm always ready to help. And these are all the things it says. We're gonna hit I understand, and it's gonna say, before we get started, what should we call you? Put that. Now, when it actually asks you, what am I into? Pick 3 topics to explore. This is so that Claude can determine what specific things you're coming to it for. Are you coming to it for creative writing? Are you coming to it for coding? Are you coming to it for research? Those are the things that Claude is gonna want to start to personalize the experience for you on. So we're going to choose the 3 ones that honestly apply to me. Coding and developing, because I'm obviously a software engineer. Learning and studying. I love using AI chatbots for research purposes. And most importantly, writing and content creation. So we're going to click those 3 things here and hit let's go. Now it will offer you Claude Code, but this is more if you're a developer, so we're going to skip over this for now. We're just going to say maybe later. And then once we actually get into things, it's going to ask us where we should start. Now, in our case, we're going to say I have my own topic, and this is going to drop us right into the interface. And as we can see, it looks like a lot of the other AI chatbots. It's got a chat window that we can communicate it with. We've got all of these different things down here at the bottom. We've got the chats on the left with projects, artifacts, and all of our recent chats. At this point, we don't have any. So what makes this any different from any other chatbot? Well, every single model has its own LLM powering it. That's what makes them different. And that translates to more than just the way it communicates with you. So for example, let's do a very simple prompt. I want to say, how long should I cook eggs for if I am learning to cook eggs in every way? Now, this is a simple prompt, but we're not going into the prompt engineering here. We want to look at what's happening under the hood. Now, behind this is Sonnet 4.5, which is the default model. But if we click on that, we can see here that there's a bunch of different models to choose from, and we can see exactly what makes them different. Now, by default, Sonnet 4.5 is smartest for everyday tasks. Haiku 4.5 is the fastest for quick answers, or if you upgrade to a paid model, you get Opus 4.1, a deep brainstorming model and consumes usage faster. As we can see, we actually have to upgrade to Claude Pro to use the best and latest models. But we actually see we have more options hidden here. If we go to more models, we can see that these are all the ones available on those paid plans. Opus 4, Sonnet 4, Sonnet 3.7, Opus 3, and Haiku 3.5. All of the models that allow you to customize the exact way you use Claude. And there are tons of different options on ChatGPT and Gemini and other chatbots, but for the most part, everything you're going to need within the chat model is already able to be done with Sonnet 4.5 or Haiku 4.5. The prompt that we've written so far doesn't require an insane amount of thinking. We really just need a quick answer. So in this case, I'm going to select the model that best matches what it is I'm trying to get, which is a quick answer. So I'm going to select Haiku 4.5. We can see here, we've got Haiku 4.5 selected. And now, before we actually go ahead and hit submit on that prompt, we're going to check out a few things on the left here. Now, on the left, we have extended thinking. Now, if I click on this, we can see here that on the free plan, I have 3 available. So I'm going to just take that off for now, but this means that it's going to take an extended amount of time to actually go through and figure out what the answer to your question is. Now, this can be comparable to things like deep research if you've used ChatGPT and other platforms, where it takes an extended period of time to include many more sources than it already would on its default answer. Obviously for this one, we don't really need to do that. The next thing we have here is search and tools. And if I click on that, we can see here that I have extended thinking once again available. And as it says, allow Claude to think out loud for longer for trickier questions and challenges. This isn't a trickier question. We also have use style. Now, if I click on use style here, we can see that we have a bunch of different options. We have normal, learning, concise, explanatory, formal, and we can actually create and edit styles. Now, this is particular to tone. How is the actual answer going to look in the tonality? Is it going to be, as it says, concise? Is it going to be written in a way that's best known for learning, normal speak, explanatory, formal, etc.? Let's say in our case that I want to learn in depth how to cook an egg in every possible way. So in this case, I don't want normal, I want explanatory, because I want to use a quick model, but get a nice explained response. So we've got that available to us. Once again, under search and tools, we can see I have web search enabled, but if we want the prompt to actually not use any web search, we can just go ahead and disable that. Or if we have the Pro plan, we can actually add connectors. And that allows Claude to directly interface with some of the best tools in the world. We've got Google Drive, we've got Zapier, tons of different models that actually can connect directly to the favorite tools that you already use if you're on the Pro plan, and managing connectors as like. And this is where you could manage those connections. And then finally, we obviously have the ability to actually upload files or images if you want Claude to actually see what it is you're putting in. But in our case, if we're good here, I'm gonna go ahead and hit submit. And we're gonna take this prompt and just copy it for now, because I'm gonna show you what it actually takes to get a good prompt in Claude. So we're gonna take this simple prompt that I wrote, go ahead and hit submit, and we're gonna see here, we should get a fairly quick response. We can see that because I chose the Haiku 4.5 model, it's not going to think too hard about the answer, and the information it's going to pull is going to be fairly accurate because it's about a fairly broad topic. Now keep in mind, I did choose explanatory as the tone. So the way it's going to be explaining it to me is going to be very in-depth. It's going to tell me about the key to understanding egg cooking, to recognize the egg protein denaturing. When does it change structure at different temperatures? Egg whites, white yolks, fully solidifying at certain temperatures and times. And then, just as I've requested, it tells me when scrambled eggs are done, fried eggs are done, boiled eggs are done, poached eggs, and it gives me a detailed explanation because I chose explanatory about exactly what happens. It doesn't just say fried eggs take about 4 to 5 minutes over medium to low heat. It could stop there if I just chose normal. But in this case, because I customized it with explanatory, we have exactly why the fried eggs cook in the particular way. The slower, gentler heat prevents the whites from browning before the yolk cooks, and more details like that. But we've got a fairly simple and quick answer. Now, once we actually have our answer, we have a couple options available aside from just responding to continue the conversation. At the bottom right here, we have up, down, or positive and negative if you're just giving feedback. We also have copy and retry. Now, if the answer you didn't get was satisfactory, well, you can always retry it and add more customizations on top of it. So, for example, if I hit retry here, I could say retry with no changes, but if I wanted to give it a specific response, I can hit retry and have changes if I was on the paid plan. In our case, we're just gonna ask it to retry with no changes because I'm on the free plan, but this could always be the point where you could either just go ahead and get it to retry, or if you actually wanna add specific customizations, you could just type it in here. I could say, explain this as though I am a 5-year-old. And this is really the first part of what makes good prompt engineers. The people who can provide the most context. LLMs work off of trying to give you the best response, what they think you want to hear, while being as accurate as physically possible. But providing the context for the answer you want to hear and effectively giving it a list of criteria for what would be your best answer is the best way to achieve the results that you're looking for. Say, for example, that you're a marketer and you're using it for marketing purposes. Tell Claude that information. It could then take that information, use it, and try and tailor it for you as a marketer. Claude has the different tonalities built in, but you could take that a step further by providing a laundry list of criteria about what exactly it is that you want it to do. You are Claude. You are going to explain it to a 5-year-old. You're going to explain it at a university level. You're going to be providing all this information. And as much information as you can give it, that will detail the best response for you. So in my original prompt, if I was going to use that again, and I said, how long should I cook eggs for if I'm learning to cook eggs in every way, and I want it to be explanatory, but I also want to say it's for a 5-year-old, well, I should add that context in there. I am explaining this to a 5-year-old in a beginning cooking class. That's more context. It drastically changes the type of response I'm going to get from Claude. As we can see, just asking this simple question gives me a complex way of every type of egg cooking and exactly what you should do. Now, if you took these answers and gave them to a 5-year-old, it wouldn't really have the same effect. But if I am now, again, providing a little bit more context and using the same Haiku 4.5 model with explanatory turned on, and I go ahead and hit enter, we can see here that it's going to adjust with exactly how I could explain this to a 5-year-old. It's talking to me still, not the 5-year-old. It's saying, start with the simplest idea. Eggs change when they get hot. You might say something like, when we add heat to an egg, it goes from squishy and clear to hard and white. So again, it's about the context. If I had said specifically, explain this to a 5-year-old, it would have given me a different response. But the context I provided it was, I am explaining this to a 5-year-old in a beginning cooking class. So instead, it's talking to me. And this is what we call framing. And this is exactly what provides the best type of context for the LLM that allows it to give the best response that you're looking for. Because if the LLM doesn't know what your definition of the ideal response is, how is it going to give you that ideal response without knowing on the first try? And that's why if I take this and I take, again, the same prompt and I go ahead and I submit it here, and I can say, explain to a 5-year-old. Now I hit enter here. I could say explain to a 5-year-old, how long should I cook eggs? But we actually want it to say explain in language that a 5-year-old would understand. How long should I cook eggs for if I am a 5-year-old? And then we're gonna get our answer here, and it's gonna look radically different from everything we've seen otherwise. Hello, cooking eggs is super fun and I'm excited to help you learn about it. Fried eggs are when you crack an egg into a hot pan and let it cook without stirring. This takes about as long as singing happy birthday 2 times. Why would it need to provide that information to an adult? But for a 5-year-old, singing the happy birthday song 2 times is a great measure of time. You could say to a 5-year-old, you need to set a timer for 30 seconds, or you could just have them sing the happy birthday song twice. But that's enough about that. Now I can actually take this whole conversation and use it as the basis for more conversations. In the top left here, we can see that Claude has already assigned this whole conversation a title, Egg Cooking Times for Beginners. And if I hit this drop down arrow here, we can see that I can star it to favorite it, obviously, rename this as I want, or hit add to project. And that brings us to the next part, projects. What is a project? Well, effectively, a project is a collection of chats that ideally all are around the same topic. So it allows you to categorize and cluster the different conversations so that you can stay organized within the actual interface. So if I hit add to project here, it's going to automatically say, hey, you don't have a project here. So I'm going to say cooking tips. And now we can see I can create cooking tips, and now it's going to move it into that new project. And on the left side here, we can see it if we go to the projects tab. Now, here's where we have all of our projects. We have cooking tips, and then obviously if we want to create new projects, we need to actually upgrade to the Pro plan for unlimited projects. But for now, we get our simple free project and we can click into it. And in here, we can actually add a bunch of things. First of all, we have all the chats that are related to that specific project. We have the Egg Cooking Times for Beginner, and we can just chat with this project and it will have the context of every other chat that we've talked about. So that way, if you have 10 different chats all related to cooking and you want to ask one question that you asked in another chat and another question that you asked in a different chat, you can do that as long as they're all within the same project, so it has the whole context of all the conversations. But on top of that, one of the cool things you can actually do is add custom instructions. On the right side here, we can see that this is where I can add custom instructions to tailor Claude's responses, specifically to any chat that is started within the context of this project. So I can say, let's say I want to add some instructions here. You are Gordon Ramsay. Ramsay or Ramsey? Ramsey. I might be spelling it wrong. Totally okay. I will check after this video. And if I spelled it wrong, well, I won't spell it wrong again. And I'll say save instructions. Now we can see here the instructions, you are Gordon Ramsay, are here. And it's going to take those instructions into every consideration. And we also have our files. So we can add PDFs, documents, anything else. Again, providing as much context as physically possible. So now if I ask that same question, how long should I cook eggs for if I'm learning to cook eggs in every way? And we have explanatory turned on, we should get the same response, right? No, because now I've added custom instructions. Wow, that's how Gordon Ramsay talks. Right, listen here, you want to learn eggs properly? Brilliant. He does say brilliant a lot. That's a thing he does say. Let me break this down for you because there's no point rushing through this. Eggs are fundamental, and if you can master them, you get the foundation for everything else in the kitchen. Here's the thing about cooking eggs. The cooking time depends on time. You get the idea. By providing custom instructions to Claude, I've now tailored every response. Now, don't worry if you want to change them later down the line. Let's say, for example, I got really scared by this Gordon Ramsay thing and I wanted to go and change it. I could always go to projects here, go in and just adjust the instructions on the fly and say, you are, like Jamie Oliver or any one of those other celebrity chefs. Or I could even say, you will only speak in riddles, etc. Now, these are very simple instructions, but you can imagine you can custom tailor all the projects and the different types of chats you can have by putting in a whole bunch of instructions here to get exactly what it is that you want. In our case, I'm going to leave the You Are Gordon Ramsay instructions just because I like the way that this prompt looked. And as we can see here, now I've got this where we actually go into it and we can see all the chats are clustered together. On the left side here, we're always going to see all of our chats, but going into projects and going into the cooking tips project, we can see that all those chats are clustered together nicely. And of course, if I want to change any of the chats from project to project or remove them from a project so they're no longer considered within the context of future chats, I can do that as I want to. Now, let's check out artifacts. Artifacts within Claude is a very interesting thing. Now, what we have here are a bunch of inspiration artifacts. We have things like a writing editor, PRD to prototype, Slack project insights, raw note transformers. Effectively, they're different tailored ways that you can use Claude for whatever result you're trying to achieve. In this case, we have a specific one for brainstorming, an Anthropic office simulator, Pilingo, flashcards, all of those. And they're categorized by learning, life hacks, games, creative, touch graphs, a whole bunch of things that are native in Claude. And if I go to my artifacts, we can see the ones that I've created. In our case, we don't have one, so let's go ahead and create one. And once we hit create artifact, we're taken to this screen. What is the category we want? Do we want to build an app or a website? Do we want to build a document or template, a game, a productivity tool, creative project, quiz or survey, or to start completely from scratch? Let's pick app and websites. What do we have here? Now it's going to take us through the structured template for exactly how we can build that app or website, starting with talking about what kind of app it is, what's the main purpose, who would use it, etc., all the way to actually building a mini prototype in our browser for this app. Artifacts are effectively a way for you as the person using Claude to use a specific tailored model that somebody else has already set up. With artifacts, you can basically create apps, prototypes, and interactive documents, all with these templates that are already set up, and of course, all of them powered by Claude. And at that point, you just choose one of the ones that they have or build your own. So what I hear you asking is, Josh, if I have my chats over here on the left-hand side, what is this chats for? Well, let me show you. If I actually hit into this, I can see all of my chats with Claude. We can go ahead and create new chats and search through all of them. Now, this is of course because there's no search bar on the left-hand side. So this is effectively where you're searching through things. I can see all the ones I have, and I could talk about specific messages, and we could say, kitchen. And obviously, actually that's really strange. Apparently the word kitchen was not said in any of my chats. Let me say eggs. 2 chats had eggs in them, that sort of thing. It's just a way of monitoring and searching through because there's no search bar on the left-hand side. Now, while we are on the free plan here, I did briefly touch on the connectors. Now, what are connectors? Well, if we go ahead and hit this, we can see that there are a bunch of different connectors that take Claude and directly connect it to your favorite apps. We can see here for desktop extensions, we have read and send iMessages, Google Chrome, Figma, PDF tools, ClickUp. All of them are here for desktop. We also have web. We have a lot more on web here as well. Look at these that all connect directly to Claude. And I can keep scrolling down and you see them all. And all we'd have to do is hit manage connectors. And this effectively allows you to actually take actions in your favorite apps, but using Claude as the way to kick those off. Now, if I actually wanted to write some real code in this, I could say create a React app to be a grocery list. Say something like that. And I could go ahead and submit that. And what we can see here is that it's actually going to design an interactive artifact. And on the right-hand side, we have the whole code visible. And then in just a few seconds, we have an actual interactive prototype that we could then go and publish for other people to see. In this case, we've got a simple grocery list app where I could say milk, add, celery, add, eggs, add, and then you can check them off as needed and get rid of them as needed. It took only a couple seconds. I think that was less than 6 or 7 seconds, and we have a full interactive prototype that I could easily swap between what's visible on the front end and the actual code in the back end. And the coolest thing, I can actually just chat with it, or if I want, just copy the code entirely. And we can actually download it as a TSX file if needed, or if we actually want to share it with the world, hit publish. And when we publish the artifact, anybody on the internet can view it, and that makes it potentially visible in search engines. So we publish, copy the link, and that is automatically visible by pretty much anyone. So as you can imagine, this makes coding a lot easier. And once again, because I use the Haiku model, it was a lot faster. But let's say that I was going to give it a more complex topic. Let's say I swapped from Haiku 4.5 to Sonnet 4.5. This time, I'm going to give it a lot more of a complex topic to test out its coding. And I'm going to show you Sonnet 4.5 and the way that that actually looks. So in this case, I'm going to say create a full stack React app for a mood tracker, Sonnet 4.5, and we're going to go ahead and hit submit. And it's going to actually take a couple seconds to actually think. And as we can see here, it's drafting that artifact, but it's much slower because it's taking its time. Now, right here, we can see that this is what the interactive artifact looks like. And opposed to the Haiku model that just did it very quick, this one really takes its time to have complex code that actually makes sense. And because it takes a lot more time, we get a lot more high quality code. And just like we saw with the Haiku model, we will get a fully interactive demo once it finishes here. But it's taking a lot more time because we asked it to do it in a much more in-depth model. And there we go, we've got our mood tracker. I can log my mood for the day and say today was amazing. And I exercised, I relaxed, I read, and I also filmed video. And save that entry. I've got my history, my insights, we've got the activity frequency and mood trends. And as we can see, that happened in pretty much a span of 30 seconds. And the coolest part is, if I want to actually improve this further, all I have to do is chat with it and it can continue to improve on this design, just within my browser. So that's Claude. But what makes it different from all the other chatbots? I mean, doesn't Gemini have the same sort of thing we have here? ChatGPT, DeepSeek? Well, for most people, honestly, it comes down to personal preference and the way that they can actually customize it and how easy they can do that. For developers, sometimes it comes down to the way it can code, if it can actually show features in the browser, and the specific way that each interface offers a different way to do effectively the same thing. Some chatbots have video models, some chatbots have photo models, but sometimes they just have the best response out of all of them. So hopefully you now know everything there is to know about using Claude, at least from the free perspective. I encourage you to give it a try, see how it compares to ChatGPT or Gemini, and make your own decision based on the type of results you're getting. Some people choose it because it has better code, some people like the responses better than, say, ChatGPT or Gemini, but ultimately that decision is up to you. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and as always, my name is Josh Mountain. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.